friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jennifer, and I thought today that I would answer some questions from some of my viewers. I've had some questions come up in the comments over the last couple of months, and also I posted a post last week asking for viewers to give me their questions, and I've written down some of the questions and I'm going to answer them for you today. They're not necessarily going to be in order, but here we go. Question number 1, am I ever going to date again? And if so, will I use a dating site? I'm not planning on dating. I don't plan on putting any effort into dating. If a perfect or, if a charming and very compatible person were to come into my life, I might not be opposed to it, but that it is not something I'm looking for. And no, I will not use a dating site ever again. I use dating sites, the last time I used a dating site has been probably 7 or 8 years ago. So since then, I've not put any effort into dating. Before that, I put myself on the dating sites for a little bit just to kind of see what was out there. And it was always just I found myself really, when browsing the dating sites, I found myself like cringing. After somebody's been on those sites for a while and have become a kind of a serial dater through the sites, they are really not worth my time because people are just not real. And I found the older that all of us get, the more baggage we have. And I have not met any people that I'm interested in dating. So no, I don't plan on dating again, but I'm not opposed to it if it were to just organically happen. But I'm not putting any effort into that because I enjoy my own company. All right, here's another question. Somebody was saying that they were feeling that as they aged, they felt like they had this urge to declutter and purge all their belongings. And they asked me what I thought of that. And I think that's a great idea. I'm kind of a fan of the Swedish Death Cleaning movement because the premise behind that is that your children are not going to want your stuff. You think that you're saving things for your generations coming after you, but they're not going to want your stuff. They're not going to want your furniture and your heirlooms. Most of the time, they're not going to want any of it. So the best thing that you can do is to free yourself from the clutter and also free your children or your heirs from having to deal with it when you're gone. So I think that's a wonderful idea. And as time goes on, I find myself having less and less stuff. And it's kind of an ongoing process for me. I think I'll continue to minimize and I'll continue to become a minimalist more and more as time goes on. What are my interests and hobbies right now? There's so many, and some of them clash. For example, I love gardening. I love to have a garden in my backyard. I have chickens. I love like kind of sustainable agriculture. I love growing organic vegetables. I love cooking with the things that I grow. I love sourdough, bread baking, and all that kind of homestead type stuff. But I also like to travel. So those two things don't go hand in hand, obviously. I actually was just thinking about this morning that I think I might kind of clean up my garden area and make it and give it kind of a year off, because I'm planning on taking off after my teaching job ends in mid-April. And I don't think I'm going to do a garden at all this year, which is, I've had a garden every year for a long time. Gardening is really kind of my big thing, that people locally know that I have a big garden, because on my Instagram in years past, I've shown off my garden, but I don't think I'm going to do that right now. So I'm going to say right now that travel and adventure is what I'm interested in. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be getting my minivan all set up to go back out on the road. And I'm going to be filming all that. So I think in the next as the weather warms up just a little bit, I'm planning on taking a short-ish trip at the end of February or the 1st of March down to Florida. And then after the semester ends and I'm planning on taking off and heading out west. I've been wanting to be a nomad for a while, and I've done short stints. And now I feel like the time is coming for me to be able to figure out how to do that more long term. And right now, a big hobby of mine is YouTube and content creation. I'm doing a lot of writing. I've done a lot more writing the last few months than I've done in a very long time, and I've always considered myself an amateur writer. I like to write. So writing and making YouTube videos and working on my social media, both for my personal accounts and also my real estate accounts. That's a bit of an interest of mine and a hobby, I would say, lately. So somebody else asked, is it my goal to not take any money from my 401k until I hit a certain age, retirement age, 65, 70, whatever it might be? And that is my goal to a certain point. I'm going to give myself a budget for this year because I'm trying to, as you know, I don't have a full-time job right now, and I'm a real estate agent, and I've got a part-time teaching job, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do starting this fall and going forward as a long-term plan. And before I get there, I might have to take some to just pay the bills if I don't make enough money on my real estate business. But I do have a budget in mind, and beyond that, I don't plan to take anything out of my 401k until I'm maybe 65. Another question, am I planning on buying any more rental properties? Right now, I am not, only because it is not in my financial capabilities right now. I'm in this period of transition. I would, however, in the future, like to buy some more rental properties if a good enough deal presents itself and I have the means to pursue it. I might buy some more in the future, but that's not in my plans right now. And if I don't buy any more, I'm okay with that too. What am I doing for health care? I walked away from my full-time job last month, and I'm only 55 years old, so I'm not eligible for Medicare. So I went on the ACA, the healthcare.gov marketplace, and I found a very, very high deductible, basically emergency only medical plan. And I put in my estimated income for this year, which I kept it low. I kept it basically just making enough money to cover my expenses, and it turned out that I was eligible for a subsidy, so my insurance is not costing me anything right now. However, at the end of the year, if I make more than I estimated, I may have to pay some of that back. But right now, I have a health plan. I got it from healthcare.gov, and I estimated my income low, so I am not paying for my health insurance. It is fully paid for by the subsidies. Luckily, I'm pretty healthy. You know, all preventative care is covered by insurance, free of charge. Hopefully, that's all I'm going to need, and it'll be fine. I guess it's a tiny bit risky because if I have a medical emergency this year, it's going to cost me a lot out of pocket. But I have insurance, and it's not costing me anything, and that's what I'm doing right now. Somebody asked me for advice on renting to travel nurses, and I think that is a whole video in itself, but I will say that I use furnishedfinder.com to advertise my space. I have an apartment that I originally had it on Airbnb. It's fully furnished. That didn't last long before I decided I wanted to offer it to travel nurses. I used to be a travel nurse. 10, 12 years ago, I did some travel nursing, and I'll talk about that in another video, actually. And I advertise it on furnishedfinder.com, and I make just as much as I would on Airbnb with it, but my tenants stay minimum 30 days, and usually they stay 3 months. And I have to do my own leases and all with that. It's not like Airbnb is like a full service, and they take a lot of fees, and they handle all the booking and everything. But with Furnished Finder, it's basically just an advertising platform, and it's like $149 a year for an ad, and the rest of it is all up to me to handle. And I do that because I have rental properties, and I don't have a problem with screening tenants and drafting leases and all that. But that's how I do it. And the last question for today is, what advice would I give my 20-year-old self? And this is a loaded question, but you know, that was 35 years ago, and my life did not look like I imagined it when I was a young girl. And that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just, it just is what it is. I would say to my 20-year-old self, which, let me go back and say 18-year-old self, because by the time I was 20, I was already married to a narcissist and had a child. If I was talking to my 18-year-old self, first thing I'd say is, don't marry him. Don't get married until, you know, don't get married for a while. Just go do what you plan to do. Go to college, explore the world, figure out what you want to do with your life. And once you have your life for you, you know, once you've set everything up the way you want it, then if love comes into your life, then you can, you know, then maybe you can get married later. But my 18-year-old self did not know of many options. I thought that if some person showed up that wanted to marry me, I should do it. And that's what happened. So also I would say to her that you can do whatever you want. Like, the world is wide open to you, and you don't have to stay in your hometown. You don't have to be with a partner. You are smart, you're capable, and you can just set out and find your way. And you don't be afraid, because it's just gonna, just don't be afraid to go out there and see the world and break the rules and disappoint your family and all that stuff. Just do it. Do what is best for you. Wow, that was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. And I probably have a lot more to say to my 18-year-old self. Those are the questions I had on my list. If you have any more, please leave them in the comments, and I'm happy to answer those. Maybe I'll compile them and do another Q&A later on. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.